Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Beacon Breakdown. I am Keegan Laird Thompson. I'm joined by my good friend Soren Burkholder, aka Master Seb. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. It's a little wet outside, so I'm a little dripped out right now, but it's all good. We in here, it's dry in here, so I'm just happy to be here. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. So before we hit into your hard-hitting interview, which is going to be very, very exciting, our topic today will be how you can transition from actual sports over to esports, which is a foreign concept to a lot of people, and I'd like to take some time to shed light on it between two former athletes. But before we get into that, we're going to break down the happenings of the previous week as well as some of the upcoming matches coming up for our teams this week. And we're going to start with Overwatch. Now, Overwatch Beacon, they actually won their previous two matches last week in pretty dominating fashion, as I understand it. And Valpo Shield, unfortunately, they didn't have any of their league play this week, but they did have the exhibition match against Murray State, our bitter rivals. We don't like those guys here, but we were able to take the dub over them as well. We got more exhibition matches, I believe, coming up this season for some of our other esports, so that's going to be exciting for them. But hey, big ups for Overwatch. But now we get into a bit of a bind because we had some pretty unsuccessful play for the Smash Ultimate team, which that's my baby. I'm captain of that team, and it's to my dismay I have to announce that we lost most of our matches last week. We got one win over NICUC, who were undefeated in the NECC conference. But then again, last Monday we played against Manchester, lost in pretty vitriolic fashion. I feel disgusted about that one.
Vitriolic, that's a big word. I like that.
I'm a commentator, man. English is part of my religion.
Big vocabulary.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
Um, and then on Tuesday, obviously we won against NIUC, but we lost to Lambton Lions in a heartbreaking one stock difference in game number 5. So pretty unfortunate there. And then coming up this past weekend, we played against, I believe it wasn't St. Francis, it was Alma, and we lost that one as well. But our team played about 6 matches in the past 7 days, so I'm not disappointed in them at all. They had a lot of work cut out for them, and they did very well, kept them very, very competitive, very close toward the very end. But it's a big loss of momentum. We have a week or two off before we go to GLEC Conference Championships, which will be happening not this coming weekend, but the weekend after that on the 14th and 15th. So, going to be an exciting couple weeks for them. And joining them there will be the League of Legends team, also competing in GLEC. Now, they had a couple unfortunate losses, which are probably going to knock down their seeding in conference playoffs as well. They lost this weekend to Manchester and Bethel, but they are still probably going to be slated in the 4th seed position. At least one can hope. So, pretty decent positions for our GLEC competitors. Now,
Yeah, and I mean, we know that the league team's good. They've had several good matches to start the year. They have some good players. Ordinal Edgar and Jacob Felix, who goes by Dreadful. They've both been very impactful players. I live in a house with Jacob, and he's always been talking about, hey man, we're playing really good this week. We're feeling good. So regardless of if their results are good or bad, they're always going into it with high expectations, and they expect to be good. So even if they're a lower seed, I expect them to play very well in the conference.
yeah, I do too. Actually, we had the League of Legends head coach come in a couple weeks ago for the Beacon Breakdown, and we had a number of interesting things to say about it. But most of all, he has a profound belief in all of his players on the team and says that if there's just one day where they can put all the pieces together, everything will click into place and they may be able to do something magical. And you know what, dude? Pressure makes diamonds. We got playoffs coming up in
There you
2 weekends, so
Yeah.
there's the proven ground that will be coming up for them. But hey, man, let's talk about your baby. We got the or I almost said League of Legends, Rocket League
It is a
team.
league.
It is a
It is a
league,
league.
just the wrong one.
The other one. But
Yes.
yes, Rocket League, our gold team had a game over the weekend. I forgot who they played, but they did win in 4 games. It was very good, as I understand it. They played really well. They had a rough start in game one, but managed to sweep the rest of them. My homies Josh, Jank, and Thomas and Matt, all the guys there, they're putting in work. I love those guys. They're awesome. And the captain Daniel Murphy does a great job rounding up that team. And then for my guys on Brown team, we had a game on a weird time. We played on a Tuesday
Oh
instead of a
no.
Friday. Um, but that was just because we had some scheduling conflicts from the players on the other side. But we managed to get that game in, and we took it in 5 games. It was tough. Lost we lost the first game, so we're starting to spiral a little bit. It wasn't a great start. But we came back. We responded immediately. We did a good job in sort of playing to our strengths. We had talked a lot about playing patient in the corners, playing patient on defense, and then really exploding on counterattacks and playing a bit like a real soccer team would, soak up some pressure and then be able to break out by passing through the backfield and looking to um, expand play on offense. So we did some of that, and it really helped us. We took a 2 games to 1 lead, and then we just lost it in game 4, but took them on in game 5. So I was very happy with that. To finally get a game 5 win. It's been a
Yeah.
while for that. Many close losses for us, but I was happy to get that one in, and with 1 forfeit and a sweep previously, we brings us to 3 wins, which is still leaving us in a very decent position if we continue to play well, because I think we've been playing a lot better as of recently. So I'm excited for where we're going, and we have both teams have another match on Friday. So
All right, man, and I hope you win those. But fortunately, we have one team who is on the up and up at the moment. Hopefully, our other teams will be able to bounce back soon. And let's hope that Valpo Shield actually has a game this week for the Overwatch team. But my friend, we've known each other a while. Actually, you were one of the first people I met coming here. We were roommates last year.
we are roommates. That's right.
Yeah, but I don't know much about your esports story. So, how did you get from your small little town of San Antonio, Texas, to all the
Oh
way up to
no.
Valpo to play on our esports team here?
Yeah, so I am from San Antonio, Texas, and I was touring many colleges up here in the Midwest because I wanted to play Division 3 basketball. That was what I wanted to do. I was talking to some coaches in the area. I had done my research. I knew that this area of the country was where engineering, which is the major I wanted to do, and basketball culture was very high. And I found a lot of places here that would fit that bill. So I toured a lot of places like Bradley, Rose-Hulman, um, a few others in the Illinois and Indiana area, and then I got to Valparaiso, which I knew about from watching college basketball throughout the years and knowing guys like Bryce Drew. And in Texas, I knew of his brother Scott Drew, who took Baylor to win the national championship in men's. So I knew of those guys, and I came here expecting a similar sort of experience, and I did my tour. I talked to Tristan, who was at the time the rec sports director, as well as starting the esports program here. And I was mainly talking to him about if we're doing a travel basketball team, if we were, how his intramurals work, how could I do a tryout, that type of thing. And then he said, "Hey, we got this other thing that's going. It's called esports. We're starting it up. It's becoming a lot bigger now than it has been in the past." And I was like, "Oh well, I'm decent at this one game." And he's like, "So what is it and what's your rank?" I was like, "Well, I played Rocket League, and I was a champion 3 at the time. If those of you out there, you know the ranks of the game." Um, and he was like, "Would straight up, would you like to play on the team?" And I was like, "Whoa, I'm being offered already, just out of the blue, just on my tour." And I was said, "Sure, I'd love to get involved, because obviously I'd be leaving everything that I knew back home and going to a place where I didn't know anyone. I had to make new friends. I had to create sort of new challenges for myself because brand new area of the country. I knew I always wanted to go out of state. It was sort of a
Yeah.
I want to explore a new place, and as opportunities came to me, I took it, and I played the first year. I met you, lived in Lincoln Hall, good old
Yes,
Link
sir.
Floor
Good old
5.
Link 5 baby.
Oh yeah, forever. And sort of got more involved with the program and just continually got better. I've moved up a few ranks now. I'm now a Grand Champion 2 player. And I have felt the best I could be right now because I didn't really take it that seriously up until the point where I was asked to be on the team because I didn't. like play in any organized tournaments ever in my life. I just played the game casually and happened to be good at it. So it was very nice to have a structure, to have a coach, to have a team that was willing to play together with me, and guys who were willing to set aside time to actually go into matches and work on communication, work on passing, work on things that would actually make a team better. And I realized, oh wow, I could be so much better as a complementary player than trying to do everything myself. And I think that was a huge part of it. Just coming here and now into my second year, I feel even more part of the team than ever. I feel like I can provide a lot more value than I would have been able to otherwise, just because I got involved in the program and I love where it's going.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, we're on the up and up. We're in a streaming room in a brand new space that's much bigger this year, which is the fruits of everyone's efforts here in the program. But I want to ask you something about this. You kind of alluded to this. You said you just so happened to be good at Rocket League, but as I got to know you more and I got to see you play more games on your PC, I got to realize like this guy has like some really shifty aim as well. Like you go into your aim labs, you practice and everything. And I saw you play a little bit of CS:GO last year. Your Overwatch, you have like a bunch of guns, like gun skins, which are only for players who reach a certain level of elo each season in competitive. So I'm just like wondering, like you got to be some kind of Swiss Army knife when it comes to esports. And I just wanted to know, why did you come to decide that Rocket League was your main game? What generated more interest in that than these other games that you had a lot of skill in as well?
Yeah, so I played a lot of games growing up. I played, if people remember, Team Fortress 2. I love Team Fortress
Yeah,
2.
my man, man after
My
my own
man, my
heart.
man. My dad also was a big promoter of that because he this is funny. You probably won't like me saying this, but he has over 600 hours in TF2 just throughout the years of
Impressive.
playing, and he had so much fun with it. He wanted me to play it because it was fun. So because it was a team style game where I was grew up playing team sports, and I loved sort of the camaraderie that happened. And he and I would play together, and then eventually we moved over to Overwatch. Um, where we would play together. He always loved playing support and some tanks, so I was like, okay, I'll try playing the complementary players. So I played, damage and some tank as well, and it was ended up being a lot of fun. And then I downloaded Rocket League whenever it came out, like 2015 or something, just because my dad found it. It was like, oh, there's a game with a soccer ball and a car you get to drive around. It's like your two favorite things. I'm like, well, you're kind of right, because I love cars. I love the whole motorsport scene because that's what got me into my major. I wanted to be an engineer because I love learning how things move and motion and physics and stuff like that. So that was what got me interested. And then I'm a huge general sports fan. Basketball's my favorite, obviously, but soccer's becoming my second favorite to watch and to learn about. So to have those two sort of mesh together in one game that was fast paced and easy to play, it kept my attention. So that was something that really interested me. I still remember the first season of like competitive that they ever did. I think the lowest I think that was the lowest rank you could possibly be. I think I was. They used to call it like prospect, so I was like prospect division 1, and I was like, yeah, I got ranked. um, and then I don't know. I just kept playing the game. I kept getting better. I sort of use the same strategy that I do when playing basketball, where I would watch guys and I'd say, oh yeah, I'm gonna steal Clay Thompson when he's moving on the sideline. I'm gonna steal this dribble move from this guy, and I would watch players online. Like I'd watch some like older montages of like Squishy Muffins and some other players back in the day, Mitsinaris, and I'd watch those guys. I'd take moves from them. I watched Squishy's ceiling shot like the first time he made that in a tournament, and I was like, I have to learn how to do that. And then I practiced it so much that became one of my best mechanics, is playing off of the ceiling and off of the walls. And it just kept going from there, and I really just kept enjoying it. Liked playing it. It wasn't really a game that I ever burned out really, so that was a huge reason why I kept going. Because like games in Overwatch, I would get a little bit. frustrated with myself if I didn't play well. And Rocket League, it was really easy to, mentally reset because games are 5 minutes, and then if you queue up again, you're into a next one very quickly. And there's no, like, even after you get a goal scored on you, there's no time to dwell on your mistakes. You have to immediately say, okay, I made a mistake. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to fix this mistake? I'm going to continue to play hard. I'm going to continue to play defense. I'm going to keep trying to do what's best for me and my team because, if you dwell on your mistakes, it gets in your head and you start getting focused on things that don't
Yeah,
matter.
and you don't work well with anybody at that point either.
Yeah,
But you mentioned this a little bit ago as well. As I understand, in high school, you were something of a basketball stud, as I would
maybe,
call it. I mean,
maybe.
you were looking to get picked up and play in college. Even you were pretty open about that as well. And best player in your high school. You mentioned how your work ethic from basketball carried over to esports. Just in, oh, this player did this one thing that I think is really cool. I want to learn how to do that as well. And you're able to incorporate that pretty easily into both. But any level of team play that you learned in basketball, or like practice mentality, work ethic, confidence, competition mentality. Do you think any of that has successfully carried over to esports to allow you to be as potent of a weapon as you are on the team?
I definitely think it does. For sure, in the aspect of team chemistry, where you have to be able to recognize your strengths individually, you have to recognize your teammates' strengths, and say, um, or what I like to do most of the time is say, here's my teammates that I'm playing with. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And how can I adjust my play style to make them play better? Because I think if I'm trying to be the center of attention and, try and go for all these crazy mechanical plays, I'm not going to do what's best for my team because I'm going to, try and do too much. And you see that happen in sports all the time where someone tries to take something on individually in a team
Yeah.
sport and it doesn't go very well because, and I hate to say it because it's unfortunate now, but Russell Westbrook, it happened to him,
Yeah.
um, where he's trying to take over and tries to do too much sometimes, and it goes wrong more often than not because he doesn't, trust his teammates, and he doesn't complement um, the other players on the floor very well. And so that's something that I like to do, where I understand where my team's strengths are and how can I make my team better. And sometimes that may be having me as the focal point of the offense, where I say, okay, because in Rocket League you normally do a rotation, so everyone plays every position in a given time, and so you can sort of look to rotate out. Like sometimes I might be the rock on defense, where I'm playing really well this day. I'm staying patient. I'm staying, you know, uh, I know I'm reading the ball very well, so I can be that sort of rock on defense and look to open up my teammates. Whereas other days, you know, Cole or Xander could be, really reading the ball well on defense, and then that can release me to do some cool things, to try and score goals. So, understanding your strengths and weaknesses of your teammates is a huge thing. But I think even more importantly is the mental aspect from my time in sports because I went to a camp, basketball camp called Point Guard College,
Hmm.
and one of the main things that they teach you there is how to be um, mentally tough, how to overcome things that are mentally challenging, sometimes even greater than physically challenging. Because so many times in sports, you make a mistake, and then that one mistake becomes two, two becomes three, three becomes four, and it just compounds, and you have a really bad day because you made one mistake and you let that change the course of your whole entire game.
Yeah.
And that happens to everybody. It still happens to me. It's very hard to adjust to it, but they gave us some little tips and tricks where, like, when playing basketball nowadays, I'll say, I learned this from they give a presentation on Carlos Boozer. He used to play for the Bulls. He played for the Jazz, some other teams, but he would do this thing where if he made a mistake, he would clap once and then twice. So the first clap was for the mistake. He was like, "Oh, I made a mistake," but you force yourself to clap the second time for the response. So you say, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to fix it? How am I going to um, make up for my mistake, really? Um, because, a lot of times you see guys slapping thigh, they clap really hard. They physically hurt themselves
Yeah.
because they slap themselves so hard. But the two clap forces you to um, like clap twice, kind of softly, because it's hard for you to clap super hard one time and then
Be
do
ready for
do
the
it
second
again.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sort of makes you reset and say, okay. And I think one of the best examples of this mistake response in sports, and of course I'm biased because I'm from San Antonio, but is Manu Ginobili of the San Antonio Spurs. For a long time, he played very high risk and very high paced basketball, but he would sometimes make some very dumb mistakes. But he would always he would have this like terrible turnover. He'd throw a crazy pass that nowhere near getting anywhere. But the guy like sprints down on a fast break. You see, oh my gosh, it's Manu Ginobili out of nowhere. He just blocked the guy going the other way because he's like, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I got to go make up for it. He wasn't like, I made a mistake. Oh, and then like pouts and walks off to the
Yeah.
sideline.
Head down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he always goes over and tries to make up for his mistake. And I love that mentality because it stops you from uh, getting like down in the dumps, a sort of depressed state where you're not going to play your best because you're thinking about something that happened 2 minutes ago. Because like
Right.
you can't go back and fix that. So what are you gonna do to make your game better, make your day better? And I think that's a hard thing for us to learn as profession like in most ways professional gamers is
Yeah.
we have to learn how to not let one mistake, change the course of our whole game. Where I know a lot of players have problems with that, so it's even a problem for me still. And you know, it's just a thing you have to grow and work on. It's never going to be perfect. And that's also something to understand is no one's ever going to be perfect. So
Of
you can't
course.
you
Yeah.
can't you can't make every touch. You can't score every goal. You can't. Of course, you can look at film in hindsight and see, oh, I totally should have scored this. I totally should have made this save. But it's
Right.
like, okay, so
Okay. You
so
should have
you
done it then.
yeah, so you learn from that now,
Yeah.
and you say, okay, now I know what to do,
Right.
and then you can try and do it the next time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I came from a similar place as well. I don't think I'd be as mentally tough of a esports competitor as well if I didn't play football in high school. You know, you were basketball, I was football. The big thing that my head coach would tell me, completely contradictory to the team's success. It was a really good mental plan. It just didn't really work out for most of the players because they really couldn't see it the way that he and the rest of the team could. But the thing is, he always had this one thing he would say: you make a mistake, you mess up, you fumble the ball, you throw an interception, you miss a tackle. He always just say spot the ball, because no matter what happens, the play must resume. You mess up one play, you still got a whole lot more to play the rest of the game to make it work.
Yeah.
And a lot of players who are particularly new to competitive, well, I mean anything competitive, it doesn't have to necessarily be just sports or just esports. Just, I mean, if you're going to play an intramural team, you might miss a shot on offense as playing basketball, and you got to find a way to bounce back from that. There's just a lot of differences when you have a background in sports, where you have a coach who believes in you and says, listen, you have all the skills you need, but it's just a mental game whether you want to actually bring yourself out to 100% or not.
Yeah, because it would be really easy if everyone played at their best the whole time, then we wouldn't have any of these
Yeah.
problems. And that's it's very, very hard regardless. I think this is, people are starting to learn more and more about it, but I think it's understated how um, tough the mental side of all these games are,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
different for every game. Because like for Smash, it's you get kind of tunnel visioned into I have to focus on this one thing, and then you might lose a stock, and you're like, oh, how am I going to recover from this?
Right, right.
And sometimes I know you've done it before. You've come from 1 to 3, and you've come back and won those probably because you're just that good. But
Well, that definitely helps. But I mean, a lot of players in those situations when you're staring down the barrel of like, oh man, I got to take out three of these guys. You got to mentally reset after every individual match. I mean, at playoffs, we had I don't want to get too personal about this, but like we had a bunch of vulgar players in the crowd. People rooting against us the whole time. Anytime I would lose just one of my stocks, you get three, per tournament life in collegiate esports. Anytime you lose, I would lose one stock. The venue would cheer. Players from other esports, not even just Smash people, but like it doesn't matter who it was, it didn't matter who they were rooting for. If I lost a stock, the place would go ballistic. And we were underdogs in that finals. We were the first seed coming in, obviously, but we hadn't won a conference title prior to that, and we still haven't since then. But um, it's just you gotta know how to play around any kind of problems. I had to come back and take 8 with my 3. That's difficult, even especially against a polished team like Manchester. But
yeah,
a lot of players will look at the game and say, "Oh my God, I gotta do something now." You gotta be, there's a desperation play, especially in games like Rocket League or Valorant or CS. I mean, Overwatch as well, where you're playing against a clock. Smash doesn't really have that in Cruise, so it's a little bit easier to play around. But still, there's that extra pressure to perform there. So I can only imagine how you guys do it.
yeah, and it's tough sometimes, for sure. But other times it comes easier and natural to you. I love it, when we when you start to play well together and really mesh. It's a great feeling because you're all playing in tune. You're all playing to the same wavelength to say. You're just you know where everyone is. You can find your teammates. You know exactly where to hit the ball. You place it in the corners of the net, and it's just a great feeling when it all comes together. And I talk about as well the we talk about the mental aspect so much, but also the physical as in your movements you make in the game.
Right.
You can also, take a lot of parallels from what you do in actual, like in basketball, football, soccer, those type of sports into games because um, I know that my philosophy I talked about before a little bit, but in high school I looked at guys like Donovan Mitchell and Klay Thompson and Tim Duncan, some Tony Parker, a bunch of big name NBA players, and I'd watch specific film and I'd say like I want to steal Tony Parker's spin move where he goes in and out and then rips it around with one hand, or I want to take Klay Thompson's jump shot of how, his base is very soft and his wrist is so firm. And, you take bits and pieces from every different player that are your favorite players to watch, and then you can put that into your own game. And I saw my growth as a basketball player took a huge step forward when I did that because
Yeah.
I was taking moves that, and my favorite move to do now is the crossover jab that I stole from Derrick Rose. It's just so potent, and like I can get by the first defender every time now because I use this one move to get there. And it's the same thing in Rocket League. I watched to get like I probably went from Diamond 3 to Champ 3 just because I watched professionals
Yeah.
and how they played and their movement and some like actual mechanical things like learning how to half flip, learning how to aerial well, learning how to um, play off the walls, play off the ceiling, stuff like that. It was huge for me because I took Garrett and Justin and um, other like the best roster for a long time was the NRG team where they
Yeah.
had
Yep.
three of the best players in the world. And then they played against guys more recently like the Moist Esports team where they were the best three players in the world. They won major tournaments and um, it was amazing because all these guys were at such a high level and you could watch them and say, yeah, that it's hard to take bits and pieces when they have sets and they're playing as a team, they have their team stuff that they work on, but you can also look at people individually and say, I loved when Vitira took a slow touch and then like flicked it over the second guy, and then like he was so patient when he did this, and he like instead of taking a shot, he passed it backwards to his teammate who took the shot. It's small stuff like that that you can, look at and say, "Ooh, I want to put that in my game."
Yeah.
And then you can sort of take that and look to practice it with your team. And that's what I've done, and I think it's made me a much better player because of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, around my time as well when I've been trying to develop and get into Smash Bros, it was I just watched like a lot of high level Samus players, players of my character, and I would just be like, what does he do differently? And then Smash is such an expressive game that everyone has like their own thing, especially at the high level. So, for me, my favorite player to watch is Quick, and actually he and I are close friends now. He's all the way in Germany, but we still keep up. And whenever he comes over here, I get to see him. But I watching him, I learned like how to move well, how to keep myself away from my opponent while also applying direct pressure, and how to get into it if I needed to, and also how to back up, how to like mix up people. So he did this one thing where he would like touch their shield once, and then he would always wait to see what they did afterwards, and he would try to go for follow-ups each time. So you know and coming from a football background, I used to play linebacker on defense. You need to make a whole slew of split-second decisions at any given moment. Like I'll give you a simple example. When the play starts, you have to immediately be able to recognize whether it's a run or whether it's a pass. And that's really taught me how to optimize pattern recognition, and I was able to carry that over to football, or from football to esports as well. And it's just I feel like a lot of people think of the two as so different. Like most people on the far side of like sports fandom are like, oh my, they can't see how video games can be taken seriously at all or competitively. And a lot of people on the far side of the spectrum when it comes to esports fandom, they're like, dude, like I can't watch sports, it's boring to me, it's just it's not something I relate to very well. But what a lot of people don't realize is, yeah, you're not doing anything that's horribly physically demanding when it comes to esports, but I mean, there's a huge mental aspect that a lot of people are just overlooking. And the two are a lot more alike than people really give it credit for.
Yeah, I agree.
We are a little over time, but we've been having a really good conversation, so
We
I
we
would.
always talk for way too long anyway.
No, dude, there were a couple
This
nights.
this happened at like what was it? It was always like 11 o'clock, and then we'd stop talking and be like, "Why is it 1 a.m.?" Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
No,
it
we'd
just
be done with our
happens.
games, and I would just like ask a random question, and we'd just be like going on for a couple hours, man. But hey, while I've got you here, and while we still have a little bit of time before the Twitch chat starts yelling at us,
Or or Mike starts yelling at us.
oh,
One of
yeah,
the two.
Mike might want to get out of here in a moment too. But but you know, you obviously wanted to continue to play competitive games, sports, otherwise, whenever you got to college. So I wanted to say I'm really happy that you found Rocket League, you found your niche here on the esports team. But you know, after college, obviously we're still our first semester of our sophomore year, so we got a lot of time to still develop and still compete and everything. But particularly for you, because Rocket League is such a big deal at the moment, and it's a really popular team game that pros really do end up scouting collegiate players pretty frequently. Do you have any ambitions in after college being able to continue if you get the opportunity to?
I mean, obviously, if there's an opportunity that comes, by your way, you're gonna, of course, take it into consideration, and why not at that point? Um, it's something that I've thought about. Obviously, with my major and all of the other things, I'm involved in so many things on campus.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take into account, but you still put in work every day. You're still getting better. I've no like throughout my time here, I slowly get better, whether that's higher rank or better, team skills in Rocket League. I consistently get better. So, if there's a point down the road where I consistently have gotten good enough to look at doing something afterwards, I would be 100% down to take it. I really enjoy playing the game, and I think as long as I have fun and I'm enjoying playing the game, I'll keep doing it until they make Rocket League 2. But
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna go.
Rocket League 2, where you only get two cars and the ball has like crowd control or something.
Oh yeah, that's it. We'll go back to
Only get one tank.
what the name of the game is gonna be like really long again. It's gonna be like the first game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love me some supersonic acrobatic rocket power battle cars. That was the so Some people
Rock'em
don't
Sock'em
know.
race cars, man.
Yeah,
I'm
some
just
people.
saying.
That's true. Some people don't know, but Rocket League is actually a sequel game.
Oh, really?
The game before it was made by Psyonix also, but for the I played it on like PlayStation 3 or whatever, Xbox 360, whatever generation of console that was.
I mean, it's a good one,
Yeah,
regardless.
oh for sure, but it was called SARPBC for short, but it was Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Power Battle Cars.
Hmm.
A little long to say, but there's a lot of things that you can find in Rocket League that are actually Easter eggs from that old game.
Oh, it's cool.
So there's like a boost that's like plays music, and that music is the main menu intro music from the old game. And
Oh, that's
there's like
cool.
small stuff like that that you can find in it, and I've really enjoyed that. I love Psyonix. They're awesome, small, developer. They got they're under the wing of Epic Games now, but they still continue to do their own thing, and I love their products and what they've put out, and I'm just
Yeah.
they didn't know how it was gonna go when they brought out the game because their first game was all right,
It was
but
all right. Yeah.
they really didn't know how it was gonna be received, and it just exploded, took off. So I'm very happy that it's where it is today, and that it keeps getting bigger. Just very excited to see where it goes. They've expanded globally now, so it's awesome time to be a fan of the game.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just gonna close real quick by saying, as a fan of an esport that doesn't really have an immense amount of support from the developers to really put on competitive productions, I'm always envious and rather impressed by esports such as Overwatch, such as League, such as Rocket League, and among others that really can put on big productions at majors, in arena events that are fun to watch for spectators, fun to play in for the competitors, and it's always just really cool that they're also trying to extend their I guess their opportunities to the collegiate scene as well. But that is our time, ladies and gentlemen. Soren, it has been an absolute pleasure, my friend. Always good to reconnect with the homies.
Of course, of course.
Yeah,
Glad to
man.
be here.
So yeah, I wish you guys and the rest of your team luck as the season progresses.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tackling this topic with me. It's one I've wanted to cover for a while.
Of course, yeah. Always happy.
Yes, sir. So go follow him on Twitter. This is the next big thing whenever it comes to Rocket League. I'm gonna say just plug it. It's right down there. So yeah, keep an eye out on it. But until next time, for everyone here at Valpo Esports, as well as my good friend Soren Burkholder, aka Master Seb, I'm Laird. I'm Keegan Thompson. Keep an eye out for next week's episode. We don't have anything in the plans just yet, but we kind of fly by the seat of our pants here at Valpo Esports, and that's what's allowed us to become as big of a deal around here as possible. So have a great day, stay safe, take care, and ring that bell.